in the industry, working on Hollywood films, and I will be giving you a brief about how the industry works. Any questions will be good later after the session is done. I'll be just doing a screen share right now, so you can have a look at the pipeline of the industry, and later we'll be even conducting the course. Just give me a minute.
Sorry to interrupt, Rajkumar. Students will paste their questions in chat box. You can address them in the middle of the session or at the end of the session.
Oh, is it? Okay, sure.
Yes.
No issues. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, sure. My system is a little slow. Sorry for the delay. It's just hanging a bit right now. So just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Yeah. So I'll just do a screen share so you can have a look. Is this visible?
Yes, it's
Okay.
visible.
Yeah, good. So as you can see, this is a pipeline of the way the VFX industry works. So if you look at the starting, yeah, the first thing that happens is pre-production, as you can see. So what do we do in pre-production? The basic thing that we do in pre-production is we plan the way the film shooting has to be done, whatever issues we are going to face, the upcoming technical challenges we're going to face, everything has to be addressed in the pre-production. So once pre-production is done, they're going to do research about the scene. They're going to do the data research. So what does that mean? Basically, in terms of data research, just a minute. Yeah, in terms of data research, they're going to do the set planning, the costume, and whatever has to be done. That is all comes under filmmaking. It doesn't exactly come under visual effects part of it. So once that is done, the concept is done. The first thing that's going to be done once the shooting is started is match moving. So that is initially the first part. So to explain exactly what does match move mean, as it match move itself means matching the movement. So what do we match the movement? We match the movement of the camera. So we match the movement of the camera that happens in the live action sequence that has to be replicated in the So only basic match move is. So here is a demo reel of a match reel by one of the artists. So as you can see, this is a pretty complex shot. So I don't know why it's, yeah. So if you see, it's a pretty complex shot. The camera motion is pretty fast. The camera movement is very fast here. So whenever there's a camera movement that is very fast, basically it means that this is a very complex shot. It's going to take time to do it. Regarding the topics, including the since it's a very fast movement camera, and as you can see, there's a car moving in the scene as well. So what are we doing here? In live action, the footage has been shot. We have to replicate that motion, the camera motion, in the 3D environment. So 3D environment can be any environment, can be Maya, Max, ZBrush, not ZBrush, Maya, Max, Houdini, and even these are the main software that's used for the final output. But before that, what we do is we use a software for tracking. So what are the softwares that we use for tracking? So there are multiple softwares, but the most notable and the most common softwares are 3D Equalizer, PF Track, and Synthesize. These are the three main softwares which are used, and Bojo also is being used. But as of now, the industry Bojo is a little low. But these are the 3 to 4 main software that's used for tracking. So let's just take a look at the play, that the demo reel first. Then I'm going to explain one by one.
Rajkumar sir,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Some noise are coming from your speakers actually. Maybe your breathing sounds actually come. Okay.
Is
It's
it now?
making some distortion.
How about now?
It's clear right now, but sometimes it is coming.
Sometimes is it? Okay. Okay.
Stay there.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the reel. So this is a match move shot. All the shots what you're seeing here are complex shots. These are not something that can be done by a fresher in the industry. These are shots that's going to take experience of at least 3 years generally. So if you look at the Hollywood content, since I have been working in Hollywood for almost my entire life, the problem or the advantage of Hollywood is they want it to be 100% in terms of the quality. So the quality wise, they will not accept even 1%. If there's some issue in the plate, they will not accept it. So just a simple example I can give. In case what you can see this marker, you are able to see my cursor, right? So are you able to see my cursor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, good. So as you can see, if there's a cone here, it cannot slide even 1 pixel, that is to the right or the left. Okay, that's very important in the production. So generally what happens when a student does a demo reel, when we see the demo reel of all the students, be it match move or whatever, the main thing that we see is that the quality wise, they do not have the quality. They just give a very rough basic match move. So that is not acceptable in the industry. Okay, so industry wise, what you're seeing, there cannot even be a 1 to 2, max to max is 1 pixel generally. Okay, so we have softwares like Equalizer where you can actually see the deviation. So if this pixel, how much pixel is it sliding? So that is how tight that match mode reel has to be when you're doing in the production wise. Okay, and what you're seeing, this car motion, this is called as object track. So this is a camera track and this is the object track. And in this scene, if you see, in this scene, all the geo apart from the car has been created customly, has been created by in Maya generally. Okay, or Max sometimes, but most of the time it's Maya. So all this geo what you're seeing has been created in Maya, and the main issue that you face is in Matchmo is how do you differentiate between the depth of the shot. So if you see the shot, the camera is translating quite a lot. It's moving at a very fast pace. One. So as you can see in the perspective, the camera motion, yes, put a camera motion that you can see, it's going straight. Yeah. So that is one. These are the geo which he has created, and this is the plane. Now it's very important, as you can see the car motion also, it's very important that the car motion matches to the plate. It cannot slide, again the same thing. And second thing is, the ground, what you were seeing, the ground, the car cannot be above the ground. This is a perspective view. So what happens is, in why do we do perspective view? There are multiple reasons. One is this is how the reel does actually generally happens. So when you see the reel, first there will be a main view, and then that is a main camera. This is where he has the wireframe and he has the cones. So what you're seeing, all these wires are called a wireframe render, and there are cones to make sure that the pixel that the geo is sticking 100% to the ground, that there's no slide in the match move. First point. Second point is, once that is done, we need to make sure the motion of the car and the motion of the camera has to be very smooth. It cannot actually have jitters. It cannot have any bumps in the camera. So if there are any jitters or if you see any bump, it is clearly visible in the perspective view. So as you can see, the camera track, it is smooth. That is very important. Okay. And I think there's a minus. If you see this plate, the car suddenly starts to go to the right side. It skids. So these kinds of even minor issues are actually very, very important in the production line. So in the production pipeline, you cannot afford to make any mistakes. That is one. So second thing, what you're seeing in the first shot, if you see, there's a car here. So what is the need of the car? So the first thing that it does is it gives it a scale. So generally, we need to make sure the scene scale has to be correct. So what happens when we are amateurs or when we're still students? What the basic common mistakes people do is that they keep the scene very big or it's very small in Maya. So I hope you guys are using Maya, right? You guys have used the software called Maya?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So it's very important that the scene scale is correct. So in Maya, as you know, we can change the scene scale in inches and centimeters. It has to be very accurate. So if you come to international production pipeline, generally each and every studio has a different pipeline. Okay, no two pipelines are same. Every studio from MPC to DNEG to Rhythm and Use, each and every studio has its own pipeline, and they work according to their pipeline. So what happens generally is, if you get, let's say you work in a company called MPC and you're a Matchmo artist, you work for like 3 to 4 years in a company, and then you jump to another company, let's say DNEG. So there are certain tools, certain scripts that are particularly made only for MPC. So when you learn that and you become an expert in that, and when you go to DNEG, those tools will not be there to help you. So it's very important in the industry to make sure that you do not get addicted to a certain tool that's going to help you. You need to know how to finish the shot, or how to create the same uh, uh, what do you call complete the shot using without the tool, so that when you change your studio, when you go to a different studio where the pipeline is completely different, it's very important that you can actually work in other place without facing much issue. So in this, we have a car that's going to give a scene scale for you. Okay, so you know exactly what is a scene scale. So but when you go to next shot, there's no car here, and if you see in the first shot, the geo has been custom created, but the car is not modeled. The car is actually done by a modeling department. That department has actually completed the car and they just provided the car. So that is a scene scale for them. So that is a used as a scaling purpose in the scene. So that is what the car you can see. Okay. So the main difference here is, if you see the geo, what you can see, these are very rough geo. These are not accurate geo. So this geo is not going to be mainly used down the pipeline. This is only for the purpose of making sure that the track is sticking 100% fine. Okay. But this car will be 100%. It will be the same thing what will be used down the pipeline. Okay, car wise, it will not change much. But in this scene, you have a character here that is used as a scaling purpose here in this scene. So the character there so yeah, there are characters here. So one more thing what they do is, as you can see, this character which has been is running actually. So we do multiple frame lineups of the character. Why do we do multiple frame lineups? So that to make sure that there's a pipeline down, there's one more department just after match move that is known as Lota Anim. Are you guys aware of Lota Anim? Anybody?
Sorry, sir. What?
Roto Anim. Roto
No,
animation.
sir.
No, okay. I will explain. Cool. So this is match move basically. What you're saying is match move, matching the movement of the camera. Okay. Here, as you can see in the first shot, one is first you want to do the match move, that is matching the movement of the camera, and second you're going to do object track. Object track is again the same thing. You're going to match the object track. So you're going to take the object that can be car, it can be hand, it can be anything that is a object which is not organic, which is a like a mobile phone or whatever that doesn't change, that doesn't bend, doesn't have any organic structural change. So that is where you use object track. Okay, so that is the second part. So in RotaAnim, what we do is these characters, what you're seeing, these are lined up not just for the purpose of scene scale, but what they will do is, since you guys are aware of what is animation, basic animation, what they do is the character what you see here, this character is going to be placed in multiple frames, not just one frame. Here is just one frame. Then we will place it here. You can see one more character has been placed here, and as it goes down the pipeline, the same character has been placed here. The reason being that once animation has been done, the RotaAnim department, that is a separate department, that is very similar to animation department, but it's slightly different. So I'll tell you what exactly happens in RotaAnim. So RotaAnim, what they do is, first thing you have to do is make sure the camera is perfect. You cannot go from, without doing the match move, you cannot do RotaAnim. You have to make sure that the match move is 100% done. Once match move is done 100%, then only you can jump into RotaAnim. So once you jump into RotaAnim, what they do is, they match the motion. They match the character motion. So what you can see, this character is running, is jumping on certain things and is jumping and running. So what we'll do is we'll match the character frame by frame. So it's very similar to match move, where match move what you do is you match the camera motion frame by frame with the help of software. In RotaAnim, you do not get much software help. There are softwares to help, that is like 3D Equalizer is one of the main software that is used. But apart from that, there's no much software to help you specifically for RotaAnim. So it's pretty much done in manually. So usually for RotaAnim department, people who want to be animators, students who want to be animators, who are looking into field of going to animation, can be 3D animation, can be 3D animation in the VFX industry, or you can be in a animation studio. So both of them can work as a RotaAnim artist. Okay, so what they do is they make sure that the character, as you can see, they will be a rig. You guys are aware of what is rigs, right? Basic rigs.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So there will be character rigs. The character rig is going to animate. So they were going to animate him frame by frame, just like animation, general normal animation, but match him frame to frame. So that is what they do in RotaAnim. So these are the same shots. As you can see, the perspective view. He has animated the perspective here, just so that you can see. It's very important. It's all custom geo. Whatever you're seeing is custom geo built. These are something that has to be built by the artist. Generally, it is not provided by the client. Okay, here that is the difference. So these are simple geos done in Maya to make sure that the scene works fine. There are no issues. Once that is done, let's go forward. These are all complex shots. So as you can see, again a simple geo has been created. Yeah, again this is a shot as I was telling you. What is the purpose? For RotaAnim purpose, we make sure that the character is lined up multiple frames. So it's lined up here, and this lineup is done by a matchmove artist. It's not done by a RotaAnim artist. This lineup is done by a matchmove artist. But of late, in the industry, there are slight changes that's happening. So what's happening is matchmove and RotaAnim department is getting merged slowly. So there are a lot of places where you will find that matchmove and RotaAnim, they'll call you as a matchmove and RotaAnim artist itself. They won't just call you as a RotaAnim artist, or they won't just call you as a matchmove artist. And in certain studios like DNEG, Double Negative, they don't call it as a RotaAnim artist. They call them body tracking artist. It's basically the same thing. They call it as a different terminology, nothing else. So body tracking is what they use just because they're tracking the body. But here, RotaAnim is something that's used by a lot of other studios. So it's basically the same thing. So you can see the character has been lined up in multiple frames, and it is very important again to make sure that the character is touching the ground. So it cannot be floating in the air. It's very important. So that the reason why do we do RotaAnim? So certain things would be like, if you see RotaAnim, let's take the shot for example, there can be shadow casting. So there can be, they want to add some lights, that is CG lights. They want to add some lights. So they want the character to run roughly, not 100% accurately, but very rough animation of the RotaAnim of the character. So this RotaAnim lineup has to be done by matchmove artist, as I told you. So it's very important that the matchmove artist also has to know, he needs to know RotaAnim, basic structural, basic lineups, how to do basic lineup in Maya. So again, the same thing what you can see here. Yeah. So this is called as an object track. as I was telling you, there is no structural change that's happening. It's just an object that has been cut. So what you're saying is a geo, face geo that has been created for a rig puppet that has been separated, and it has been used. It has been lined up exactly accurately for one frame. Once that lineup is done, that object track has been done specifically for the shot. So we can see that specifically done one, and in the perspective you can see the object moving. So this is same thing that's done in Rotanim. Only thing what you see difference would be that only difference would be just the only difference would be you will see the neck motion changing, you will see the hands, arms changing. If a character is running, the object also has to run in perspective accurately. That is one more. This is another complex shot again. So I'll just give a small brief about this shot. Generally in match mode, especially in camera tracking and match mode, it's very important that you track the foreground irrespective of the software. I'm telling you, doesn't matter what software you're using, you need to track the foreground, midground, and the background. So it's very important. In this, the foreground will be the car in the front, and the second thing would be the midground would be somewhere here, and the background will be the back. So in this shot, in match mode, the main thing will be that the foreground is going to give you translation. So how the camera is moving, it's very important. If you track proper 2D points in foreground, it's going to give you very good translation. When you go to midground and background, it's going to give you rotation. So background is for rotation, foreground is for translation. So whatever points you're going to add, so the BG, what do you see? BG will control the rotation, the foreground will control the translation. Hello? So even if you don't use any software, it's not compulsory that you have to use software. And software is just a purpose to, it's just a medium for you to help you get a very good solve. But there are times when there's a very complex shot where you will not be able to get the entire result in software itself. So you will have to do manual tracking. So manual tracking is where in Maya or Final 3D general software like Max, Maya and all, Houdini. So what you do is you track it manually. You bring the camera, you export the camera from Equalizer or Buju or PF track. You export it, you import it into Maya. Once you import into Maya, you will need to manually put a keyframes. So the way you animate your objects or anything, the same way every frame by frame you have to animate the camera. So that these are little complex stuff. So these stuffs are generally not done by what do you say? By freshers. It's mostly by mid-level and senior level artists that's done. So, and if you see this shot, for example, there's a lot of reflections happening in the car. Okay, so generally there's a if you have used softwares like Buju, Equalizer, or PF Track, you will know that there's something known as 2D tracking. What we do, so you 2D tracking. What you do is you make sure that you track the features on the plate. So if you see in this shot, the FG, the features are not so accurate. The features are, it's reflecting, so it's very difficult for you to get a very accurate 2D track. So this is where you need to make sure you spend extra time and make sure that you get a very accurate 2D track in Equalizer once, or in Buju or in Maya or in PF track. Once you get a very accurate 2D track for the foreground, this is going to take time. So the common mistake which a lot of students do is that they assume that I can just do auto track. You just click on auto track. Buju is very famous for that. Auto track. They just use auto track and they'll just add some 5 or 6 manual points, take it to Maya. They get a solve and take it to Maya. That is actually very wrong. Generally, what we do in industry is that we don't touch auto track at all. The only software which we use auto track was Buju, but Buju as of now has been on a decline. So a lot of software people are using right now in the industry is PF track to an extent. Synthesis has been used to an extent. But the most common thing is a 3D equalizer. That is one which everyone is using right now. So generally we don't touch auto track until unless we have to build a terrain geo. So what do I mean by terrain geo? Would be a shot like this, where there's you have to build a mountain. As you can see, there's basically a small mountain that you need to build. So adding points, multiple points in each and every will take a really long time for you. One. So, and since that's going to take a lot of, it's the time kill basically. You need to save time in the industry. Time is money. So the production will not give you so much time for you to 500 points or something like that. So production is going to give you a bid date and tell them, what, you need to finish so and so shot by so and so date. So generally there will be bid. So talking about industry bids, I'll just give a small brief about the industry bid for this shot. So since this is a very complex shot, so generally for a shot like this, you will get 3 days for camera track generally, and for object track maybe 1 to 2 days, not more than that. Yeah, 2 days for camera track. So this total shot would be 5 days. So 5 days is what you get. So per day would be 8 hours working into industry. But this depends on changes on every studio. So there are studios which are actually very lenient on the bids, and there are studios which are very accurate and they want it on time on the bid. So in studios like very big studios generally doesn't mean that they're going to give you very good bids because everybody's after money. So for them, time saved is money saved. So they will not be willing to wait for a long time. So for shots like this, generally in a very good, like let's give an example like NPC or Trace VFX, generally you may get something like 5 days for this shot. But the same shot what you're seeing, if you are going to a studio like Double Negative, you may get only 3 days. The bits are cut and you may not get the same bits. So as I was telling you about auto track, for shots like this, auto track doesn't work very good. It will not be able to track very well because there's a lot of motion blur that's happening in the shot. But shots like this, where the features, it can at least capture some features, or the auto track can work fine. Generally in industry we use Buju for auto track. Auto track is very good in industry for Buju. But apart from Buju, we don't use auto track in any other software. PF track has some good auto tracking features. Also, Equalize has some very good auto tracking features. But these two softwares still we do generally don't prefer using it. One. So let's go forward.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Like if my footage has like too many reflection on the scene and lots of motion blur in the scene, so what I have to do for that, like
Yeah.
to get the proper, like tracking points and
Exactly.
to get a
So
proper solve result.
yeah. So which software are you using?
So I'm basically using Bojo, Cinthai, and Maya, basic camera tracker.
Okay. So what you need to do is, since you have used Synthesize and Bojo also, there's something known as manual tracking, as you're aware of it, correct? So what we do is, you make sure that you add manual tracks. You don't go for auto track. What the software does generally is, in auto track, it will track the reflections. As you can see, reflections in the scene, it's going to start tracking the reflections. And the basic rule in tracking is, you do not track reflections, you do not track lights, because shadows, because these are something that can change with that perspective change of the camera. So you're not supposed to track this. If you're going to track this, it's going to give you a very bad result. So as you can see in this shot, there's a lot of reflections here, as you can see. So where do you track in this? That is the first question. In the FG, you still need a FG point. So as you can see here, little bit, the edges where you can see. So in Equalizer and a lot of softwares, we have something like color correction, where we collect the footage. So generally the footage what you see in the final output is not the same when we receive it as a raw footage. The raw footage will be either very dark or very bright. So for tracking purpose, we need to color correct it. Equalizer has a software. Equalizer has an option where you can color correct every minute. The way you want it, you can change it. But in Bujo also, yes, you do have to an extent. Synthesize I have not used much, so I'm not exactly sure of how good color correction is in Synthesize. If you are not able to do a very good color correction in Equalizer itself or in the software 3D tracking, you can always go to a post-production software like Nuke or After Effects. So you can always go to the software and you can color correct in Nuke and bring that plate again. So the plate will not change, only the color will be changed. So it's going to give you very accurate color, much better. You can remove all the graininess, all the you can remove all the graininess in the shot. It will help you in tracking. So if you see this shot, you can see this part where you can track 1 point. You can see this part where you can track 1 point, and there'll be dust on the car. So dust on the car is still a feature. You can track on that. There will be no issues in that.
So basically the high contrast point will be good for tracking, right?
Exactly. So always the eye contrast, but it should not be reflections. It's
Okay.
very important. Make sure that reflections are not tracked. Okay.
I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
Like I guess all these tracking are done in equalizer, because many of my friends are using equalizer, but I didn't even like use it till now. But
Okay.
I heard that this these cones are visible only in 3D equalizer. Is this available in Synthai or Bujo?
Yeah, so the answer to this is like this. See, generally what has happened, Equalizer, I've been working on Equalizer for 10 years right now. So Equalizer when it started was not as advanced as it is right now. It was very basic 10 years back. So at that point of time, you could not do any too much work. So we were using Equalizer for the purpose of exporting the shot scene. We finish the scene solve and export it to Maya. And in Maya, we create the cones. So generally that is what we do. So a lot of artists, a lot of people, students, what they do is they generally create equalizer. In equalizer, since you can create the geo, basic geo, they just use the equalizer for creating geo. That's not always necessary. In animation industry, it's like if you cannot do something straightforward, there's always another way you can do it. So if you cannot create cones in equalizer, or if you want to create cones, if you want cones in other software, so the best thing to do is go to Maya, export the camera to Maya, make sure you line up the camera properly, because a shot like this where it's a custom geo completely, you need to orient the scene. You have to make sure the scene orientation, the scene scale, everything is accurate. Once that is done, as you can see, these are all custom geos. These are not lidar, these are not scans. So these are all custom geos that has been created manually. So you have to take the export the camera from Boju, Equalizer software, whichever software you're using, export, import into Maya. Once you import into Maya, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're gonna scale the scene. Once scaling the scene is done, you're gonna build a geo. Once geo has been done, then for cones, what you can do, the locators, where the locators are there. Uh, Generally, what happens is we put cones only on locators, but this is not always the standard that's maintained in the industry. So generally, what happens when you go for QC, that is quality check. So once your shot is done in the industry, what happens is once as an artist you finish your shot is not approved by the end, is still not approved. So you finish the shot. Once you finish, you're going to show it to your lead, who is going to check your shot and make sure that it's okay from his point of view. Once it's done, okay, he says okay, the shot is approved. There's no any slides, nothing. Then it goes to supervisor. So usually the supervisor checks again to make sure that it's 100% accurate, everything is perfectly fine. Then it goes down, goes down. So in terms of cones and all, you don't have to worry. You can always create it in using other softwares. So that's how we can do it. Yeah, as you can see, this is a scene scale where he has got the camera when he imports into Maya will be at 0, 0, 0. You can see the grid here. It will be here. He has to bring it to this place. He's going to scale the scene. He's going to place the character, line up the character for one frame, build a custom geo, simple custom geo, and the cones, as you can see, has been created in Maya. This is a Maya scene. This is not equalizer scene. So this has been created in Maya. Once it's been done in Maya, it's rendered it in Maya. So this is a camera motion, as you can see. So once this is done, you can always export this geo back to equalizer. There are scripts where, since your camera orientation has changed, as you can see in Maya, this camera is here. But generally, when you import the camera from Bojo or Equalizer or any other software, it's going to come into 0, 0, 0. That is the point where it's going to come. So now your job is to make sure you place the camera here, scale the scene. Now, when you export this camera back to Equalizer, in case if you want the scene to be re-rendered in Equalizer, you need a script which will help you export this camera motion to Equalizer. So scaling the camera scene changes the translation of the camera. So the bigger you scale, the more the translation of the camera. So if the camera scale is very big, so it's going to translate from here to here. If it's very small, it only translates this much. So it depends on the scene scale, depends on how much scale you want to, what is the character height. It depends on that. So this shot, what you see, there's a focus pull that's happening here. So these type of shots, generally what happens, we have something known as focal length, which you are aware of, I guess. So since the camera, you should be just a minute. You should be aware of the basic camera terminologies when you're into match mode. So if you come here, there's something like focus pull. So we can counter certain things in focal length. So we do something like variable focal length, animated focal length. So for shots like this, you can do variable focal length, and it's going to help you get a better result, better solve. So as you are aware, generally what we do in Equalizer or any Bojo software, we do something known as basic 2D tracking. Once 2D tracking has been done, we take it to Maya. The main reason we are doing it is to make sure we get a good depth. We need to get a good depth. We have to convert the 2D scene into 3D scene. That is the main reason why we do match move. So I hope you guys are. Is this clear, everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So next would be like as I was going by a pipeline. We can go. These are basically the same thing. There's no much difference. So once more the match move has been done, generally just before match move they do something as previous. So what is previous? Previous is nothing but before the shooting happens. This is even before the start of the shooting. So this is what happens. So they create a exact camera motion with sound, okay, to just get the feel if what they're going to do the shooting down the pipeline. Is it going to work out for them? Is it going to look good? What are the scenes that they want to cut? Because what you're seeing here, each and every scene is a different shot. So it has to be multiple plates. So generally, what happens in the industry is that the director, once they're happy with the way they are shot, they're going to do a very rough comp. So this previous is pretty much like a rough comp, where they before shooting they actually do this in Maya generally. So they use Maya and they generally any basic 3D software. So they create the exact replica of how the camera motion is going to come in the final. So that once they are happy with this, they are happy with the sound, basic sound, everything. They say yes, let's go with the shooting. They start shooting. Once shooting is done, they give us the plates. So whatever you're seeing, this will be the basic actual plates where they're going to give us in production. Now the problem is, what happens is, uh, since everything is based on money, so what happens is when the post-production studio, that is like any VFX studio, takes work from them. So every shot, what you're seeing, has its own money. Nobody's gonna do it for free for just that one shot or something. So when they start shooting, once they are done, the main reason why we're doing this previous is to make sure that they don't end up spending extra money on the post-production now. Because what happens a lot of times is what they think they're going to get the output before shooting, and after they finish the shooting, the output will be different. You will see a lot of times, like especially Hollywood movies, you will see movies that it comes with extra, like extra half an hour that we release in the DVDs and all. So director cut they call them, and they're gonna release it with extra half an hour, 15 minutes. So these are scenes which was actually originally there, but was cut because the movie was becoming too long, or it was not working out for them in terms of the. So the movie is becoming too long, so it's not working out for them. So what they do is they cut the shots. So let's take for example, uh, this scene. They want to remove that scene. So after the plate has been shot, it goes to the post production house where the match movie started. And match movie is a starting point where paint, prep, and match movie. These are the basic starting points where it starts after the plate has been received. So once work starts, the studio has to receive money. So at any cost, they have to pay money. So once money has been paid and the work is going on, then later down the line, once it goes through all the departments, that is, as you can see, all the departments, that it goes all the way back to compositing, all these departments going to spend a lot of time on this, on the one shot itself. So after they spend a lot of time, when it goes to compositing, they realize, the director realizes, I don't want this scene itself. He will be like, it's not making sense. This scene doesn't make sense for us. Let's not have it. So they're going to remove that scene. So there's a loss. That's such a big loss for the studio, not for the VFX studio, but for the production house. So like Disney, Warner Bros, it will be a loss for them. So Sony Studios. So due to which they make sure that they make sure 100% most of the time they're happy with the previous. So generally when you're working in studio, what happens is, as you're working on the studio, there'll be times when you're working on match move shot or any other shot, they will tell you to stop working on the shot. It's gone on hold, or it's been omitted. So this is very common in the industry. It does happen quite some time, not all the time, but yes, it does happen quite some time. So this is what previous does. So they just show you exactly the scenery, how it's gonna come out, final output, and yeah, that ends the previous. I will be just giving the basic explanation of which department does what, and yeah, this is Bojo. So as you can see, yeah, coming to motion capture. So you guys must be aware you guys must be aware of some motion capture basically. So motion capture, what they do is it's live action tracking basically. So what they do is they have multiple cameras in the scene, as you can see here. Multiple cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in multiple angles. And on the character who is going to be, who they're getting the motion from, they're calibrating the system. They're going to add markers on the character. As you can see here, he has markers on his entire body, including his hands and face. So there are times when they do facial mocap. So this especially happens in the gaming industry, where especially since the gaming industry has become very very big right now, there are lots and lots of games coming out, and they want it to be very hyper realistic. At the same time, maintain very low poly count. So the main concern is if you want to maintain low poly count in the industry, you will not get the detailed resolutions. That has to be, that is where they're going to face issues. So animating it will become even more difficult since there's very less poly count in the body of the character. So what they do is they use motion capture, which is a very time saving, and it gives you very accurate, very realistic motion of the character. So as you can see here, the character is doing some basic motions, and you can see in the BG, whatever he's doing is getting replicated. With the camera here, you can see in the BG, whatever he's doing is getting replicated. Once this motion is enabled here, they're going to do a cleanup of this. So as you can see here, this is the rig of the character. So whatever he is doing, the rig is getting that motion. So the main concern in motion capture is this is not the final output. Whatever rig you see is not the final output. So in animation, what happens generally is if you're doing a character animation, especially if you're doing character animation of a live action character. So these days, what has happened is in the industry, since there are two types of animation. One is animation for the CG industry. One is animation for the VFX industry. So animation for the CG industry would mean generally you are animating like Walt Disney movies, Pixar movies, Bugs Life, Cars. So these movies you are animating. So that is a different type of animation. And there is realistic animation, where you need to get very accurate animation without mocap. Okay, and that is where you have a very good career, to be honest. If you are speaking about Indian animation industry for the VFX, it's very 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 less. So in India right now, if you talk about the VFX industry, the main departments that's earning money for India is Matchmo, Rotanim, then there is a Paint and Prep. Comp as of now has improved a lot. These are some of the main departments. Modeling, yes, modeling and texturing has been doing good. But when it comes to animation, when it comes to character animations and groom is then nothing but hair simulations, effects simulations, all this stuff. Even to this day in India, it's still not a very good. What do you say? There's not a lot of market for it. There are studios, world-class studios like MPC, DNEG, Framestore, but they are still not bringing those talent here. Not sure exactly why, but maybe lack of talent. But still, yes, definitely it's not there. So in terms of character animation, as I was telling you, so now the realistic animation, if you guys can learn realistic animation, it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult. You need to create. It's extremely time consuming. It's very hard work, and you need to use your brains for realistic animation. And without motion capture, you have to get the animation that when somebody sees it, you should be like not be able to tell whether it's real or if it's live action shot. That is how good the animation has to be. There are animation scenes where I've seen artists who have done that, but in India, definitely yes, it's very very low. It's not very high. MPC has about 20 people, if I'm not wrong. DNEG, maybe I'm not sure again. DNEG is still not doing animations properly. So as you can see, as I showed you in the background, this thing. So once this motion is done, okay, this thing has to be taken and cleaned up. Okay, it's something known as cleanup. So there are softwares for that particularly. Motion Builder is one, and where you just clean up the animation. So there is a job profile for you specifically for cleaning up the animation, especially in gaming studios like Rockstar. They have I have my friends, colleagues working in Rockstar who are actually just doing the cleanup of the animation. So in the gaming industry, that also is a very good career option for you guys. This is where mocap comes one. So now this is Bojo which you guys have been using. This is pretty much a not a lot of people are using this generally, to be honest. But yes, again, auto track, as you can see here, this is very good for auto tracking. This is very very good for auto tracking. The disadvantage of Bujo is surveying, like building LiDAR lineups into the surveying, that is where it is really not good. So it's very good for object, very basic auto track. Buju will get the job done for you. You'll get a very good 3D point cloud. So in this, if you see, yeah, in this, if you see the depth, as you can see, the foreground is here, the background is here, okay, and that is very important in equalizer, any software you use. If you are not getting a depth in the solve, there are shots. You guys are aware? Are you guys aware of the word called parallax?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you have a parallax in the shot, it's very easy to get the shot. So as you can see in this shot has some decent parallax. It's not an issue. Even if I see, it has some decently good parallax, so you're getting a depth. But there are shots where you call something known as nodal pan, where there's no camera translation happening in the shot. So it's just a camera rotating in the fixed orientation. So if you see shots like that, so what happens is you will not get a good depth. And if you're not getting a depth, okay, and whatever custom geo, whatever you're going to create, and if you're going to place them, okay, as you know, yeah, as you know, this is in the ground and this is the background. If you're not getting good depth, and know generally what you do, you build a plane here in the BG and you build a ground for this. Now if your plane is somewhere in the front, it will of course slide in the main view. You can clearly see that it starts sliding, okay. But what if this point cloud, what you're getting in the BGs, doesn't come there? It in fact comes as a flat. In nodal pan, you must be aware, if you have solved as a nodal pan, your points will never have a depth. So it doesn't matter in nodal pan whether you have depth or not. But in a free move shot, in a shot where the camera is translating, you need to get a good depth. So there are shots where they are free move, but the equalizer or the software will not give you the depth. So this becomes very tricky. So in match moving and in camera tracking, there are times when we give a shot for bids, when we do the bidding and we give the shots. So generally there are times when we see that this is a very simple shot, can be done in 1 or 2 days, and we assign it the same shot to an artist, telling them please finish it within 2 days. But what happens is when the artist starts working, he realizes that he's not able to get a depth, or some of the minor issue happens, and what is supposed to take 2 days ends up taking 4 to 5 days. So that generally means it's a loss for the company actually, because what happens is, as I was talking about the pipeline, the need for having a very effective pipeline, this pipeline is very important. The reason being, each and every department has a role for it actually, particular role. Matchmo has a role to make sure the camera has to be done. If there's a shot assigned, generally they'll say Matchmo will take 3 days, UV mapping will take so much days, modeling and sculpting will take so much days. Once everything development will take so much time, animation will take so much time, and by the time the final output is gonna come for you, it's gonna take you like 1 month generally, if that was the plan. And if Matchmo department, which was supposed to take 2 days, took 5 days, that means there's 3 days they're going backward. That means now the other department has to pick up, and that is where it becomes an issue, where the shot was not able to be delivered on time. So especially if you're seeing Hollywood movies, you'll be seeing that, you'll see a trailer saying releasing August 2020, and then later you'll realize it's not getting released in August, it's going to get released in November or December. So this happens quite a lot of time actually. That is because of shots like this which get delayed. And there are also times when the shooting has to be reshot. So this is Boju, where this is very simple geo which is already available in Boju. So this is one object tracking I covered. So very basics, I'll just go other stuff. So we finished Matchmo. Paint and prep. So paint and prep is another department we start at the same time as Matchmo. So paint and prep, what they do is, if you see any VFX reels, this is UV mapping.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
In India, which software do we use for paint? Like, is it Silhouette FX or Mocha?
Well, it's both are used. Silhouette is used quite a lot in MPC and all. Okay, depends on studio to studio. See, again, even if you go for match moving, there's no one definite software. Even for general 3D software like Maya, even though Maya is very popular, there are studios which still use Houdini, which even to this day are using, and even same thing with all the other software. There's no one definite software that every company will use. Each and every company studio has its own softwares, and there are studios like there was a studio that shut down to Digital Domain, not Digital Domain, Zidaman Juice. Yeah, Zidaman Juice had its own tracking software. They did not use software from any other company. They built their own software where they had Maya and Equalizer combined into one. And Zidaman Juice closed quite some time back. But before they closed, they had actually developed a software for themselves. So if you are working in Zidaman Juice as a Matchmo artist, and you get used to the software, and later down the line you quit that company, because it all depends. End of the day, no one is going to stay in the same company for a long time. So when you jump from one company to another company, you realize that you will not be able to uh, adapt to a new studio, because what happens is the pipeline itself was completely different. So that is why it's very important as artist, especially for everybody, especially Matchmo, and even Roto Paint also, that the basics, how it works. It's not important to learn software. It is important to know the basics. Doesn't matter whether you learn Bojo, doesn't matter whether you learn Equalizer, PF track. End of the day, the overall thing is almost similar. It's just there'll be slight, the way you use it will be different. That's all. So end result will be the same. So it doesn't matter whether you use Silhouette for Roto or Mocho. Yeah, I mean, Mocha. So everything is same. I mean, every studio has its own pipeline. Depends on the pipeline. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this is UV mapping. You guys are level of UV mapping, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because these are the main thing was about match moving and object tracking and live action tracking. So, and now if you see one more thing.
Sir, I have a question from back in the pre-visualization step. So,
Yeah, sure.
as you showed the video, that was a Captain America shot, I guess.
Yes.
It was, yeah. So, as in this shot, the animations are so detailed, and I have seen Robot 2 VFX breakdown, and
Okay.
they were just using like T poses, just jumping here from another place. So the animations were very very basic.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it for the money and the time, or there is something
Yes.
like the
So
pipeline is?
yeah. So I'll tell you, it's not regarding pipeline. So I'll tell you, there's a big difference when it comes to Indian VFX industry and global VFX industry. So what happens is, if you see Indian VFX industry, we do not have the budget first and foremost. Okay. See, I'll tell you a basic point which you should be aware of. Some of them might be aware here. Doesn't matter which field you are. Okay, if you're working in any job, let's say you're doing a simple waiter job in a McDonald's, you're getting here how much? 10,000 rupees, 20,000 max to max, not more than 15k max to max you learn, around 15k. But the same job, if you go to US, UK, anywhere, you'll not be getting below 2 lakhs. Okay, the reason being, the cost of living is so much high. It's 1 is to 10 times or 1 is to 5 times higher in each and every country has its own cost of living. Okay, so generally, why is the Indian VFX industry booming? There's a reason. The reason for the past 10 years the VFX industry has been booming, has been doing to an extent decently good, is because the work what we're getting, all the work that's coming to India is not from Indian studios. If you see big studios, I'm not talking about small studios, I'm talking about big studios, like not local, Tamil, Kannada, Hindi movies, not those studios. Movies that been done in Hollywood. Okay, all these studios like MPC, Double Negative, then there's Fame Store which recently launched in India. Zidaman Juice was there. Digital Domain is, Zidaman Juice, Digital Domain is there now. So all these studios, they actually work on Hollywood movies. They don't work on Indian content. So when they're getting the money paid, right, they're not getting paid in Indian money. They're getting paid in American money. So that is dollars. So that is where they get advantage, where they get quite a good amount of money from abroad. So basically they're charging you what, if the money that's been done in US, right? So just giving a very rough idea, not exactly the amount. So if Matchmo shot in India is going to take you 2,000 rupees per shot, the same shot when you get it done in abroad, it will cost you like 10,000. Just giving a rough example, not exactly the same number. So when you're getting 10,000 in India, not 2,000 rupees, so you can see the amount of profit the studio is making. When the studio is only making profit, can they afford to give the money to the salaries to the employees? So the reason why Indian VFX industry is booming is because outsourcing. All the work, Matchmo, Roto, Paint, Prep, all the major work, basic work, not very high-end works, like cloud simulation and all has not yet come to India that much. But even FX has not come that much. Animation, no. The groom has not yet come still to India that well. There are certain departments that's really booming in India. In fact, I'll tell you that almost 70% of the work that's been done in global market like Matchmove, Paint, Prep, Roto, all this work is been getting done in India itself. So always it comes to outsource studios, it comes to studios in India, and they get it done here because it's very cost effective for the studio, for big studios like Disney, Walt Disney also, and at the same time in India, uh, these companies can get paid very well, so they can afford to give some decently good salaries to employees, and that's how the industry is running. But if you look at the Indian market, Indian VFX industry, so when you see a budget for a movie for VFX, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the budget for the Indian VFX industry, it's very low. Only Bahubali came recently, some time back. Fish came really long time back, where they were willing to put some money. Okay, but generally speaking, the industry, nobody is there to produce a movie. Nobody is willing to take that risk in India. And I'll tell you the main reason why for that also. If you see Indian movie, India is into a would say multicultural India country. So what happens is, yeah, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Hindi, Kannada. So in India, if you see Hindi to an extent has a big market because most of them, like 60 to 70% of people, 60% of population of India do know Hindi. And the South Indian languages, especially if you come to South India, there Kannada, where only Karnataka people will watch it. No other state people generally will not watch, and it won't even get released that much in other states. But the same thing Hindi to an extent, entire India, they can release it, not an issue. But if you see global English movies, they're released worldwide, not just India. Even the global Indian movies are released worldwide, but they don't have that market. They do not get that much money what they're going to get for a Hollywood movie. So they don't have the confidence that they can invest so much money into the industry. That is why you see everything coming down to why Indian VFX industry has not developed so much. Why is it that we do not have very high content compared to what Hollywood has been doing, like Spider-Man, Superman, and all. This reason is that they don't have the budget. One, it's not about the lack of quality. Quality is there. If you pay the money, definitely quality will come. It's not a big issue. But the main concern is that they do not have the budget for it. So Bahubali was one where they managed to get some really good amount back, so they were willing to do Bahubali 2. So it depends on that. It completely depends on budget. Indian movie industry doesn't have budget. That is why you see industry, the Indian industry generally speaking is not really that good. It's decently good, not really that good. But Hollywood is where the money, real money is. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, sir. I have one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suppose in any movie, like there is lots of Houdini explosion going on. I mean,
Okay.
that's huge. There's huge poly count. There's
Yes.
huge amount of, like, you are getting my point, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in India, suppose in India we doesn't have that much of computing system to render those out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So if like in any foreign countries like doing the render and they are just giving I mean the final compositing will done in India, right? So like they are just send the renders to India to just get the whole compositing done in India, right?
No. So what you're saying is that, see, generally there'll be heavy poly counting if there's a lot of explosion and all happening. Okay.
Right.
So what happens is, see, generally in home where we work, right, we have one system where we work. But generally in a studio, it's different. In studio, what happens is there are servers that is there. Okay. The studio will invest very heavy amount of money in the servers because one is going to help you in rendering, and you need your files to be transferred, the files, everything. So they have to invest heavily in servers. So that is how the rendering is done always. It's always done in servers. So for just for purpose of rendering, it won't come to India generally. Renderings are done even in global studios. I'll just give you an example. DNEG, I think right now they have I don't know how many branches, so 4, 5, 6 branches globally. MPC has about 10 branches globally. Uh, but if you see, in to answer your question exactly, yes, it's not just for rendering that it comes to India. In India, they just do compositing. MPC recently, to be honest, about 5 years, not 5, 2 years back, they hired massively for compositing. They have about 500, 600 people just for compositing. They wanted to bring the entire department from global abroad to here because of cost cutting. Uh, but yeah, so it all depends on the servers. So in India, we do have servers. It's not like we don't have. Whenever a big studio comes, they will invest automatically in the servers. That is the first and most important thing. So if it's a small studio, yes, they cannot afford servers. They will have to, take servers from other places. So they have to get it for rent, or they have to pay money for them and get it like that. Any other question?
So what about Technicolor and Anibrand Studio? Are they, I mean, are they have any render farm or, I mean, servers room or
Yes,
something like
Technicolor
that?
has an render farm. Technicolor has a render farm. See, Technicolor itself is a very big studio. So Technicolor is a 100-year-old company. So Technicolor has been in India for a really long time, about 10 years now, to be honest. Technicolor has been is divided into multiple departments. So Technicolor, what they do is they have a lot of departments under them. I mean studios under them. They have Mr. X, they have Mill, they have MPC, they have they had DreamWorks, but DreamWorks separated, and then they had I think Rockstar also was there with them. I think even they separated recently, sometime back. And so what happens is whenever a new studio is coming from abroad and they want to set up in India, you know, generally what happens is they come to India and they cannot directly jump into India. So they do a collaboration with a studio. So in fact, Technicolor also when they came to India, they didn't come directly. Technicolor previously in India was known as Paprikas. So it was known as Paprikas. So they collaborated with Paprikas, and later down the line when Paprikas then Technicolor took over Paprikas, the owner of the Technicolor, he opened another studio called as Eccentric. So Eccentric is still running right now. It's another company, but Paprikas was changed to Technicolor. So since Technicolor has a lot of divisions, departments. So if you see, I'll give a simple example of how they what happens in the industry. As a client, if there's a client, let's say Walt Disney, and they come and say, you know what, we have this movie that has to be done for Match Movie, and they say, can you please get it done? So and of course, Technicolor will say, okay, we have. They'll first any company will try to get as much money as possible. So MPC is the number one division where they get a lot of money. So they go to MPC and say, you know what, give us to MPC, and this is the budget for you. So and maybe let's say Walt Disney doesn't have the money. The Walt Disney says, you know what, you are putting too high. Is it possible for you to get it down? So then Technicolor will say, okay, you cannot pay so much. Okay, then they don't want to lose the client because the amount is quite big. So what they do is, and they want the client also at the same time because future projects will get a lot of projects. So what they do is, okay, if that is not possible, let's do one thing. Let's give this work to Mr. X or Mill. So they have multiple studios where if work is not possible in one side, they'll give to another department at a lower cost. And so generally what happens, the bidding happens. So in the bidding, they will do a cost cutting where indirectly or directly it will affect the artist because the bid days will be very less to finish the shot. So that is what happens.
Sir, I
Okay.
have one more
Yeah.
question. Like if one fresher want to join any, MNC companies, big MNC companies like, MPC Films or Anipren or, Technicolor. So what they want basically are they want, like quality or, eagerness to do the work or whatever. I mean, what
See, I'll tell you
they
what it is.
basically.
It's not like that. So what happens is, I'll tell you, it all depends on the need of the company. End of the day, it doesn't matter what quality you have. Let's assume you are the best. Let's assume you are the best match mover or the best modeler in the entire world. Let's assume that. But if there is no job opening in India itself, doesn't matter what you have, it's useless. Okay. So, but when the company has a need, very desperate need, so what happens is they will hire anybody, even if you don't know anything. Okay. Even if you're not able to do any work, a big MNC companies will hire you. It's not like they won't hire you. Of course, now the situation is different because of Corona, but generally when there is an opening, company will hire you at any cost. They do not worry. For them, it doesn't matter. For them, how it operates in the production pipeline is that, the production pipeline will show to the studio that we have so many artists. So they'll say we have 50 people working under us. So it doesn't matter what the quality of the 50 people is. They can be literally freshers. They may not have any talent whatsoever. They may not be able to do anything. Okay, that 50, but still for them the head count is 50. So what happens is they go to the studio and the main studio and they tell them, you know what, we have 50 head count, give us 50 shots. We can do 50 shots in a day. If it's a 1 day bid, 50 shots we can finish in 1 day. Now, what happens is the responsibility of finishing that 50 shots falls on the artist. But generally, what happens is the artist is not aware. He is not trained well. He is not, he's not aware how to do it. So what happens to the artist is that the artist will struggle initially. But for the studio, it doesn't matter. Studio doesn't care about that. For them, the end result is important. Studio doesn't matter how you finish it, but they want the work to be done. So that is when the leads and the supervisor are going to get under immense pressure to make sure that the work gets done in the given time. So if you say like out the studio, you can get hired in any big studio. It's not an issue. Uh, I'll tell you the main issue is that get as a fresher to get into a studio is difficult. Okay, as a fresher to get into a studio is difficult. The reason being that what happens is generally studios won't hire freshers. It's very rare and quite less. But once you get into the industry, it's a cakewalk. Once you get into industry, you have some experience, 2 years, 1 year, 3 years. Automatically, you can get offers. It's not a big issue. Once you are experienced, it's not an issue. But when you are inexperienced, that is when the issue comes up. Because no matter how well you are trained in your college, at the end of the day, you will have to be trained again in the studio. The reason being the pipeline is different in each and every studio. So they have to at least guide you the pipelines, and again, of course, you're going to cover up the basics again in the studio. Once the training has been done, the company doesn't want to lose you because they're giving you training again. So what happens is they're going to keep you there for at least 1 year or 2 years. They might do contract, they might do bond. Depends on studio to studio. So it depends like that. Anything else?
Sir, this is Ravi. Rajkumar sir, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Tell me.
Can you please show you some of your works, if one or two works if you have?
Yeah. So I have my works, but I don't have it here. One. Second thing, I'll tell you what happens. When you're working in production pipeline, right, you might be wondering why I didn't show any of my work right now. The reason being that we cannot show. It's under because what we work on are on Hollywood films. So these films are still in progress. They've not yet been released. In fact, I cannot even discuss the name of the films with you guys. That is how confidential it is. So we work on Hollywood films. So these films, since they are not released, I can give a simple example. Game of Thrones. It's such a big thing that one guy leaked it and it becomes a very big issue. So the only reason why I'm even able to take this class for you guys today is because I'm working from home. If I was working in a studio, it's not possible because I cannot show you anything. Okay, so that is why what do you say? I cannot show you anything in terms of my work. But yes, we generally have a demo reel of ours. To be honest, which is I do not have it at time being with me because my system is one more system is in another place. So I don't have it right now. But generally speaking about Matchmo, yes, it's been like 10 to 11 years of experience as of now. It's been going good only, not much of an issue. But yes, Corona has impacted a bit to a lot of people in the industry.
Sir, just any of your past works, if you want to show some, then it will be very beneficial for the students.
I
Not
do
the
not
great
have it in the
ones.
system. That is the issue. So I do not have it in
So
this
anything in
exactly where
YouTube
I'm.
or something like so that portion you can show.
Can you repeat?
Means if you have anything means in YouTube or something like this, some of the works that you have done.
I do
in
not have
past
it. That's what
actually.
so I do not have it, to be honest.
Okay.
So my works would be something like this. Okay. So these are very simple shots for us. For me, it's like see, I'll tell you one thing. Once you're experienced well enough in the industry, right? So yes, of course, when you're a fresher, when you look at the shot, in fact, even when I saw my shot when I was a fresher, you will get panic. You'll be like, how do I do it? How do I put cones and make sure it matches 100%? It can slip, because the way we do quality check, I'll tell you, is like we zoom into each and every cone and check. Okay, so the quality check is very high, top notch. So I told you, as I told you that time, especially in the Hollywood. So what happens is, even if let's say the paint and prep, if there's a one single dead pixel or one pixel, one black pixel here, they want that removed. That is how tight roto paint and prep operates in industry. So especially if you're in comp, the workload is very high. So you need to make sure that the final output has to be the way the director and the way the CG and VFX supervisor wants it. So it's going to take a lot of workload for you to make sure that the quality comes up. In terms of my work, I do not have anything as of now, to be honest. It's in my another system, to be honest. So I do not have it here, so I cannot show you right now. Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry for that. Anything else? I think that's the end of the session. If you have anything else, you can please ask the question.
Sir, because of the pandemic, is the pipeline same or it's get a bit different from the previous?
Pipeline is same. There's no change in the pipeline. Just that the artists have been fired. See, it's all comes down to business. No company can operate when the film shooting is not happening. So they are not getting any work. So company cannot simply pay salary without any work. I'll give you an example. Recently, about 3-4 months back. So when this pandemic happened, what happened was, if you see MPC, MPC doesn't have a matchmo department. It had a department. They shifted the department to Mumbai, Trace VFX. So all the matchmo and Roto Paint, yes, it's happening in Bangalore, but most of the work is getting done in Mumbai. So MPC department's matchmo and Roto Anime has been shifted to Mumbai, to another studio. Okay, so now, if you see Mr. X and Mill that was operating in MPC, it's under Technicolor generally. So recently there was an issue where since they didn't have work and they cannot keep hiring people, they didn't have a lot of work. They had to fire a lot of people. In fact, Bangalore, Mr. X and Mill, the entire studio was fired. The entire studio, Matchmo artist, Roto artist, and Roto I'm not sure quite amount, but Matchmo to 100 to 100% was fired. And the two people who had 10 years experience, people had my leads, supervisors, HODs, everybody was fired on one single day. So it all comes down to business. So, and all that work which they had, it was not like they didn't have work. MPC still had work, not MPC. Mr. X and Mill still had work to an extent. But all that work which was there went to Trace VFX because Trace is also under Technicolor. So they made sure that they cannot pay everybody the same salary. So this is a specialized hub there. They have a specialized hub in Mumbai. So they gave all the work there. They're getting it done there. But here in colleagues, everyone got fired. So it's a sad time. But definitely see now again November, December, I think we are slowly seeing shooting starting. So again work is supposed to come again. So it depends. Maybe again we will have work there again later down the line. So again hiring should start somewhere in December, January, Feb. We should start hiring again. In fact, all the studios, whenever this pandemic happened, all the small studios was the first to get affected very badly. So small studios generally have a strength of like 50 people max to max, not more than that. And in that match will be hardly 10 people, 10, 15 people. But if you're going to a very big studio, like DNEG and all the stuff, generally they have a very big pipeline, number of people. So approximately they have like 150 people match artists, 100 people, Roto Anime artists like that. It depends on amount of work they have. When they don't have work, every business will do the same thing. They will fire people. When they have work, they will hire again. So it's the same thing.
Thank you, Rajkumar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can wind up the session here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye.